Hi Tarun, it's good to have you on Blitz Business.
Hi, Ashish. Likewise.
Awesome, let's get started. So Tarun, tell us a little bit about yourself.
That's a very wide, open-ended question, but I've been in the business for about now close to 30 years. Spanned advertising, media tech, and now building a social community and consult platform for women. So it's been a long journey, but that's really about my professional life. Personally, I'm a very committed, dedicated meditator for about 20 years, and I follow Vipassana uh, as a technique of meditation, and I'm very inclined to finding more mindful and meaningful ways of living life.
So what got you into startup world from corporate to in this part?
So I think it had been 20 years of running companies for people on mandates that were provided to me, and at some point in time, I think I realized that there's a fair amount of similarity, but also there's a fair amount of difference in entrepreneurship and a corporate life. For me, the similarity was that I'd always run most of my corporate jobs like an entrepreneur role, but the difference of charting your own course, deciding your own destiny, deciding what is going to be the path forward in a fairly independent manner attracted me to be able to do the startup that what I'm doing. Also, I think the strong sense of purpose that came behind it can only be embodied when you kind of own your own destiny rather than you're being dictated by a lot of other compulsions that come about in corporate job.
And you mentioned about meditation. So how has it sort of transformed you, changed you, helped you? Like, help us share with your experience.
I think it makes you more self-aware just at the start about yourself. It allows you to see the situation as it is, not as you would like it to be. It allows you to go with the flow, right? And over the years, it also allows you to let go of control. I'll give you a simple example, right? When I started my career, and it was a very successful one very early on, I was only 24, 25 years old, running, all of Star TV channels in India. You believe that, you could get anybody to do anything if you could convince them to do it. Over the years of decades of understanding human psychology and working with different kind of people, you now I'm at a point where I don't ever want anybody to do anything that they don't want to do, right? And it must come from their own motivation rather than from me trying to get them to do something, because I think the the truth or the joy that you get when you're self motivated, or when you're convinced, or when you have the energy or the willingness to do something is extremely different from what sometimes you feel that you got manipulated into doing something because somebody asked you. So I think that journey is a long journey. For me, it's been a long journey. For some people, it's shorter. But to understand the meaning of control, right? And the only thing you can control is yourself and not anybody else.
So how does it really work? So this is a very interesting topic. I was discussing with many previous guests also. So, but what is your take like? For first time entrepreneurs, to set context, right, it's very difficult for them to let go of control, right? They want to do everything themselves. They have a fear of failure. There are multiple aspects for first time entrepreneurs, right, who are just starting fresh, etc. Right? So but letting go of that control, even for experienced people I've seen, it's very difficult, right? So how does someone actually execute this particular aspect?
I think at some level you've got to start trusting the universe, right? When something happens, you've got to believe that it happened for the best and that something better is on its way. That thinking is got to get ingrained fairly deeply in your head, right? And you've got to almost trick your mind to believing that. Right? I meditate a couple of times a day, every day, and I let go of the experiences of the day as I get go along. And it's, I think, essential for me or for anybody else to realize that there's only that much that you can control. Right? There will be things that will go wrong. There will be days that will be hard. There will be things that you hadn't planned for that come your way that are completely unpredictable. As long as you have the energy to get to your destiny, there will be a lot of unpredictable ways that it'll get you there.
So tell me, Tarun, what was the most difficult situation you have ever been in corporate world, and how you sort of maneuvered it?
I joined Sony Entertainment Television from start, right? We had been 80 of the top 100 shows. We created that success, and we also created a very lopsided media ecosystem in the country. When I joined there, I had to undo everything that I had created at Star myself, right? And I had to compete against exactly what we had created. I also had committed to myself that I'm not going to just carry everybody from Star here, and I have to trust the people that are at Sony and give them an opportunity and a chance, and the leadership to be able to create something better and bigger for themselves. That journey was very hard at the start, right? Because when you come from success, the same producers who treat you very differently, the same partners, the same people who treat you very differently when you're at a successful place, treat you very differently when you're not so successful, or the organization is not so successful. The same advertisers treat you very differently. I mean, everything is very, very different, and I think it's a big shift to stomach and keep your head down, keep your head in the sand, and keep working bit by bit. And the same thing that has taken place with me at Coto, right? We started with a social community platform for women. We then realized that our vision of the communities and what women wanted from the communities was fairly different, right? Communities were not something that people were buzzing every day with, but communities were places where people wanted to come and do more question and answer. So it was almost like I have a problem, I want to come to the community, ask the question, answer it, and go back. But I don't keep staying there just for small talk, right? This is not my vanity social media. And that understanding led us to rework our entire content creation strategy on the platform, our entire tool strategy on the platform, our product flow, and that got us to where we are, which is consultation commerce, because we realized that then Q&A became such a big thing, and instead of advertising and everything else that we thought will be big in communities, the way to monetize communities would be to be able to allow the community creators to do consultations on the platform, to be able to charge for the consultations, build a marketplace around Q&A. So it was a very different journey than what we'd envisaged when we started building the.
So in one line, how will you describe your current company? What exactly if you're doing for a layman person?
Sorry,
What are you exactly doing for a layman person in single line?
Right. So we, in one line, Coto is a community and consultation platform exclusively for women. So really, it's a platform that hosts 7,000 communities, largely around health and wellness and astro and so on and so forth. A safe space for women to have these conversations, and allows for these community creators to be able to provide real-time 24/7 consultations on the platform in any format, audio, video, or text.
So can I think in terms of the closest I can think of, is it like a version of Reddit, or am I wrong?
A version of Reddit overlaid with a version of, say, AstroTalk or any other platform that gives you real-time video, audio, text consultation.
This Astro segment has really picked up. So you're also seeing some traction coming in, or interest coming in from different sides?
Very big. I think everybody is at the intersection of mental health and astro. They think that predicting the future gives them a certain amount of ease. The unpredictability of the future creates a lot of stress, anxiety, depression. So run to two big categories on our platform on consultations are predictions, which is astro, tarot, numerology, etc., and then mental health, relationship coaching, sexual intimacy coaching, etc.
So have you ever thought to spin these two into different products and different brands?
I think there is a lot of overlap in all of these categories. So people who start with sometimes astro land up in mental health, and then even land up at sexual intimacy, because their real problem between couples is that that they don't have real intimacy, or they don't have an intimate relationship. They don't understand each other. They go back to mental health. Sometimes they go back to tarot to see whether my husband will come together or come back to me. So people transcend these categories very, very easily, quickly. And I think that's the beauty of the platform. To not create some silo vertical, but to be able to allow people to choose their way out of their situation.
Understood. So what are the current plans, Tarun, then? For example, you want to expand these communities, you want to raise capital. Like, at what stage are you in your journey, right? What is the...
So I think the next big thing we're doing is to expand this into the Middle East. We've seen some very good organic results in Saudi and Egypt. and Kuwait and UAE and some of the other markets. We've got all close to 500 communities and service providers from those communities ready to go and do consultation commerce. They've built some very strong communities already underneath, and they've got a lot of user base and some very renowned and certificated women who want to do this in that piece of the marketplace of the market. And we believe that MENA as a market needs this even more than anywhere else in the world, where women need a voice, women need a space that they can really solve for themselves on an ongoing basis. And so Middle East is our next big foray.
And how's your business model? Like, you charge from the community a subscription fees, or how's it?
No, the business model is that users pay per minute for consultations, and
What is
we
a consultation? I didn't
like
understand.
a video consult or a TV or audio consult or a text consult, like a consultation,
Oh, consultation. Okay.
right?
All right.
So people pay per minute for a consultation, right? And we take a part of it as a platform fees from the service provider.
Understood. So what's the biggest bottleneck in this? Like, are people willing to pay? Because I tell you the reason I'm asking. So there was an AstroTalk company which came just like a couple of episodes back, and their analysis was in terms of correct me right and wrong, because what I could understand was the segment, especially this AstroTalk, is very fickle in the sense people will come and they have a problem, right? And if you keep pushing ads, right, they keep seeing that till that point in time you have someone who is always coming, but as soon as the ads stop, etc., the sort of the entire segment or the entire revenue stream sort of goes away and someone else will take place. It's not a very, they are not attached to a particular platform or anyone, because these people or the player are available across the segment.
So 3 or 4 things, right, Ashish? One, I think we build the platform very differently. What we see on our platform is that community is a foundation of commerce, right? It's not that people just come there. People come in, they've joined communities. There are 500,000 women who are already in 7,000 communities. So they're already part of the community. They already have been talking to their community creators. They've identified with individuals who actually provide these services to them. And they have a certain amount of credibility and trust, right? People come back to the same individual again and again, whether it's for mental health or whether it's for astro, whether it's for tarot, or whether it's for intimacy coaching. It takes time for them to decide who they want to come back to, and we build the platform like that. Unlike many other platforms, we take an extra effort to build the personality and the credibility of that individual, because I think, like, you go to your GP or you go to even a therapist, right? Eventually you go to an individual and not just commoditize the service of astro or the service of mental health or the service of sexual intimacy or menstrual health or nutrition or whatever. So for us, it's important that there's a community underneath. There is a credible and verified community creator who provides these services, who you then eventually trust. And also there's a huge amount of word of mouth where you then recommend those people to your friends and families and others. So if you have a great doctor, you're bound to go tell people, okay, I go to this doctor. If somebody asks you, do you have a good skin doctor? Do you have a good GP? You're going to tell them who you go to, right? And similarly for everything else. So that is really our going in philosophy. Our going in philosophy is not that it's a commoditized, service and that you can go to just about anybody. You eventually pick who you like, and you eventually then build a relationship for them on the long run. And all our
And you
tooling is built for that.
mentioned about verification. So how do you verify? Like, what's your,
So
you
we
have a
have an
checklist?
entire certification verification mechanism where our community team, so you can't just go into the platform and provide services. You can build a community, but once you want to switch from being a community creator to being a service provider, you have to go through our verification process. We need to know whether you're certified to be able to provide the kind of services. What is your experience in terms of the number of consult hours you've done, number of years of experience you have, what are the kind of people that you've serviced. You need to get references in. So we've got a very strong verification process. Until then, we don't really allow you to provide services on the platform.
And it's a very different segment you are in versus compared to your previous corporate avatar.
Yeah, it
So,
is. It is. I've always kind of done different things in my life. I think that's what keeps me energized and keeps me excited. But the core of all of this is also content, which is what I've been doing for several years. I make sure that I try to play with content in different, features, functionalities, and use cases for people. And this I thought was another very exciting moment. One of the other things, Ashish, that we do is that we encourage all our service providers to go live, right? And we train them to go live, which actually takes away the barrier of people trying to build that connection with the service provider. So if I can see the service provider talk about the problem, talk about a case study, talk about the technique that they use to solve that problem, it takes away the barrier for me to, even know or connect with that service provider, right? If it's a mental health therapist, or if it is a nutritionist, or if it is a menstrual health practitioner, if I can see them, talk to them live, and my trust in them is far different than just a listed name with certain amount of certifications behind it.
And typically, what's the ticket size? So how much is an average user sort of spending on the platform?
So this varies in categories, but there are people who go right up to a repeat of even 5,000, 7,000 bucks a week.
A week? What
Yeah.
is this? Is in tarot segment or some what segment
Yeah,
is this?
tarot and mental health both. Yeah. See, it's a safe space for women. There isn't a safe space for women where they can really vent out and have the kind of conversations and the kind of pain that people are going through, right? I mean, it's incredible what we are helping solve.
And then I assume this is more in terms of the more the uncertain world becomes, the more business you get. Isn't it related or something?
The more people realize and are more self-aware that they need to solve for their mental challenges, the more we can help them, because the world is already uncertain. It isn't that it isn't unpredictable or uncertain, but I think the destigmatization of being aware about your issues and then solving them is the big leap that society is taking. A lot of us suffer imposter syndrome, but most of us are not ready to accept that we're going through imposter syndrome and we must fix it.
So you launched this product company. It was after pandemic or before?
Yeah, after, much after.
One. Okay. Understood. So then let's talk about your expansion plan. So how are you expanding in Middle East? So you have raised capital. You're raising capital. Capital is needed.
We have fairly well funded. We have a very strong venture partner in Jungle Ventures, and they've been part of our journey from the beginning. And we've got a very good set of individual angels, micro VCs that we've been funded with, and so we've got a good runway to go forward. And now we're in the monetization path, so it's not as much capital is not as much our focus. Our focus is to be able to provide quality services through our communities to people. Middle East, I think, has a whole different set of problems. The conversations are very under the carpet. You can't even talk about sexual intimacy to somebody who's not married, right? Sexual wellness is not allowed as a category for an unmarried. So it has its whole set of issues, problems. You cannot talk about LGBTQ because that again, and so non-binary genders are not acceptable in those markets. So there's a lot to take care of in terms of cultural sensitivity. There's a lot of services that can help women there. Mental health is largely a very ignored segment, but it's starting to come into fore, and people are looking for help, especially the younger ones. Saudi as a society is suddenly opened up, and there's a big transition period for women, for them, from really being never allowed outside to now at the other end of the spectrum. Families are going through this entire challenge in their own head on how do we really deal with this for our wives and our daughters and so on and so forth.
But are such services allowed?
Yes, they're allowed.
They are allowed. So tell us about, I mean, I understand it's capital raising may have been easier from you because you come from experience, and then it's easier to pitch. How was in terms of raising? It was like no PPT, or you just like, guys, just give me money.
I think we wrote the PPT together with Amit Anand at Jungle. So we got into a conversation of what is it that we can build, and then he had some ideas, I had some ideas, and we built it out together. So we are part of a program that Jungle has called First Check, which is a very early stage program, and they build theses and companies together in that program.
Awesome. And in terms of then, Tarun, so what else keeps you occupied?
I think family is important, friends are important, helping people is important, right? And being part of a larger ecosystem where you can contribute to people's lives is important. I work a lot with startup founders in helping them understand their thesis, understand their pitches. I'm now getting to 50, so many years of having so many of my team members now venture out on their own, do different things. It builds a whole ecosystem of people that that want to work together, collaborate together, and do something.
You're entering into 50s. I couldn't have guessed meditation sometimes.
Thank you so much, Akash.
It's yeah, that's impressive. So in terms of, so how are you? So you find the current job profile more exciting versus the previous one in corporate, or like?
It's not a job really, right? When you're building a startup, I wish it was a job, right? You would have like packed up in the evening, gone home. It's not really a job, but yes, it's very exciting. It's very enriching because it's also very purposeful, right? Every time we have an impact story of a woman we've helped, on the edge of suicide or on the edge of divorce or on the edge of wanting to run away or do something else in her life, right? It is so gratifying that every day we are able to help women, right? One of my service providers, we were talking to her last week, and she was saying ki her session they become like a satsang for women. Then they come in and they keep asking their problems, and they also help each other. You can see in a live session in a group how it isn't about only the service provider helping them, but they helping each other out of their problems.
There was this one company which offers therapists and etc. So I was discussing how's the segment, blah blah blah, and she was like, in India, people go to satsangs more than a therapist that helps. So it's like it's a market which is maturing, and so do you have any data, Tarun, in terms of what are the issues typically women are facing as of now? The
I
top
think
3, 4, 5
unfortunately,
categories.
relationships is one of the bigger issues, right? We see even the young who are not married, but in early relationships, love relationships, to married women, to later stage women who are thinking of who are empty nesters but also don't get the support of their husband anymore. The loneliness and the companionship and love and finding love is a very, very big issue, right? And I mean, I've had people come and tell me, out of the experts, that one of the questions they ask is that why do men don't think that romance is a part of marriage, right? Why is it so clinical for them? And so these are real issues that lead to anxiety, that lead to depression, that lead to imposter syndrome. So that is one part that is at some level almost dark for women.
Wow. So then, Tarun, who is happy from this in this entire system?
Our job is to provide happiness. If you see all our advertising, Ashish, we only show happy faces.
So
Because
do you have like
we don't do
second
before and after. We only give you after, and so we tell you, come and find your happiness, find your purpose, find yourself, find your being. It's important. We have to spread the right energy.
But that's a very difficult job, isn't it? What you have signed up for? No, I keep saying job, but like.
But it is. I mean, and doing easy things is not fun.
And what keeps you happy then?
So exactly what I told you, right? Making an impact on women and in their lives keeps me happy.
And tell us about your operation. So your people, your
So
team,
I have a co-founder who came with me from ZEE5, Aparna Achrekar. She also leads the women side of things, where she's really front and center on communities, service providers, issues, topics. So she lives and breathes this part of the business. Our engineering team is largely remote, but we have a very good quality CTO who's also an equity holder in the company out of Poland. We got him out of Poland because I believe that Eastern Europe tech was really far superior. He's also very front and center on AI. We've built our platform OpenAI, and so large language models help us identify people's challenges, issues, what are they really talking about, matching them to the right kind of subjects, topics, themes, service providers, so on and so forth. So there's a large element of also pushing quality through AI, where we look at transcripts, we understand what could we have done better in a consult or in a live session for women, for the user. So that's him. And then there is the entire customer acquisition demand side of things, which is also a bunch of women. So the company is largely women, and that's the more enriching part of it, because it's a by the women for the women organization. Also, they run the mandate. They call the shots. They understand what is right or wrong. So, and they understand what is good for for the consumer, because they live it themselves on a daily basis.
And what's the story behind hiring a Polish guy? Where did you find him?
So, so the thing is that when I was ramping up ZEE5 and we were building out the tech, I used to work a lot with Polish service providers. And we realized that you couldn't hire in the valley. We could hire in India, and we will continue to do. But the the bridge between the West and Asia is Eastern Europe or Central Asia, right? And the quality of tech is fairly good there. So they are fairly well exposed to the the good practices of the valley, but also adapt very well uh, to Indian developers and so on and so forth. And so we met a few people over a period of time, and I think the universe had it in us to get this guy.
And your entire
And
team is
and he's been working with. I mean, he's been a part of the team from word go.
and everyone is remote as of now.
No, the entire community demand supply team sits out of Bombay. The engineering is.
And do you plan to bring them back, or they are? It's very hard to get engineers back in office once
Yeah,
they.
yeah. We meet very often. We do offsites and we meet very often. But I don't think we're going to eventually, bring them back. Also because now he's in Poland and a few folks are in Bangalore. The Bangalore folks want to eventually come down to a hybrid situation. A lot of them are in Bangalore and they do want to make it hybrid. And I'm also encouraging them to, because I think the collaboration is good, especially for some of the senior solution architects and so on and so forth. So that's the idea and the thought. But we don't know how it goes.
And do you also for your MENA region you plan to open office, or it's all
Yeah,
virtual?
MENA, we have a very big team in Egypt, and that's our location for an office that we'll do very soon. So we have a
Oh, wow.
GM of MENA. We have an entire supply and demand team based out of Egypt.
So how is that experience in setting up in Egypt out of all the other countries and keeping the war in
I
the
think
back?
we think too much about these things, Ashish. It's kind of easy, yeah. If you keep an open head, if you're willing to work with people, if you have really good tools that make you collaborate with people easily in remote, it I have never felt people keep telling me, oh, how did you do this? How do you do that? I think it's our own inertia or our own worries or our own, kind of cobwebs that we create. So to take you back, I created a radio network in 60 cities across the country. It was called Big FM. I don't know whether you heard of it.
Yeah.
I was a TV guy before that, and we TV guys are all never used to getting out of Bombay and Bollywood and one part of Bombay that also, right? They won't go even outside of Andheri, Malad, and all of that area. So when I started setting up a 60 city radio network, right, people said, how are you going to go into Aligarh, into Asansol, into Aizwal and set up, find teams who will do content, local content, radio jockeys, salespeople, so on. But it was easy. Yeah. You just had to say, oh, it's easy. There are good people lying everywhere. We have to just go out and do this.
And you did it.
Yeah, you pick up the bag and you go and you find people, you meet people, and you find. So same thing with Egypt, right? And we have an excellent team there. And my co-founder Aparna, she spent a large part of December there. She met so many people, and it's one thing leads to another. You have to be open to ideas, open to people, and it rolls. Yeah, let the energy flow.
And is there any impact on the war side which is happening across the
I mean,
border, or is
they themselves went through a huge mental health issue when the war started. But I think, unfortunately, you normalize these things over a period of time, and it becomes a new normal.
yeah, I can imagine because it's been going for a while. I have also lost track. Yeah.
When we started the company, we were, because Poland and then Ukraine, we had a few people there. Our head of design came from Ukraine, and he worked through the first part of the war with us.
Wow.
Right? And it was incredible. Yeah, we had we were very close to opening a development center in Ukraine a week before the war.
Right. And what happened to the guy? Is he still working with you, or
No, he then eventually took up a local job because, and look at the reason why he had to leave us. It's because he used to live at home and work remotely, right? But the electricity shortage started to happen, and a lot of the attacks on the power plants started to happen. So He said, listen, if I keep continuing work with you and power keeps going on, how will I do this? So I have to take a local job where the company, I can go to an office, the company has a backup to electricity, and I can perform well there.
Wow.
That was his problem. And he couldn't leave
Great.
the country because young men were not allowed to leave the country because they were drafted in.
Yes, yes. That's crazy. I mean, and if I think like
बहुत कुछ देखने
maybe
को मिलता
this is so extremely like for I'm meeting someone first time who is impacted by
है.
both the wars. They had a developer and an office next to the um,
Yeah.
castle place. That's interesting. That's quite interesting and
Yeah.
interesting to know. I can understand meditation is needed. This is not easy one, but
You
that's
have to
interesting.
keep your head above the water and keep floating as much as possible.
Anything, Tarun, in your last 2 decades, 3 decades of experience, which now you look back, you feel ki if I had the opportunity to go back in time, I would have done differently.
There are a lot of things, not one. There are a lot, but I try not to go into the past, Ashish. It just it doesn't excite you. You get into a bit of a repentance of I shouldn't have. But I can tell you, I mean, there are relationships that you get attached to at work and outside that you think eventually you shouldn't have done because they take a lot of energy out of you and from that individual. You got to let go at the time that you got to let go. But sometimes your mind doesn't. It plays games with you and doesn't allow you to let go.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Great. Awesome. Awesome. It was great talking to you, Tarun. Thank you so much for your time. Anything you would like to share with our
No, I
listeners?
think it's good, Ashish. I think every single day we wake up in the morning and we think that there are more women to help and there are more women who can become service providers, both on the supply side and the demand side. We're always looking to encourage women. So if anybody's hearing this podcast and if they think that they can do something for women or they need help, Koto is a place for them to go.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks a ton, Tarun, for your time. It was such a pleasure having you.
Yeah, likewise.